Dubai, one of the most stable, wealthy cities on the planet. Smoke rising from the Palm Jumeirah. Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, all under missile and drone attack simultaneously. This is not a war game scenario. This is not a simulation. This happened last week, and the country behind all of it is Iran. The question everyone is asking right now, why is Iran hitting its own neighbors? Countries it spent years building trade relationships, diplomatic ties, and economic partnerships with. The answer is complicated, and it matters, because what is happening in the Gulf right now is not just a regional conflict. It is a fundamental restructuring of Middle Eastern power, and its consequences will reach every country on this planet. To understand why Iran is striking the Gulf, you need to go back to what happened first. Because this did not start with missiles. It started with uranium. On 27 February 2026, the IAEA, the United Nations nuclear watchdog, discovered that Iran had been secretly storing highly enriched uranium in an underground facility, a facility that had survived previous strikes, one that had never been declared. The agency formally stated it could no longer confirm that Iran's nuclear program was exclusively peaceful. That single statement changed everything. For years, the United States and Israel had maintained one absolute red line. Iran cannot be allowed to develop a nuclear weapon. Every diplomatic effort, every sanction, every covert operation was built around that one objective. The IAEA report meant diplomacy had run out of road. On 28 February 2026, the United States and Israel launched a massive coordinated assault on Iran, codenamed Operation Roaring Lion by Israel and Operation Epic Fury by the United States. The strikes targeted military facilities, missile stockpiles, nuclear infrastructure, and senior leadership simultaneously. The supreme leader, top military commanders, key nuclear scientists, eliminated in a single night. Iran lost its entire top command structure in less than 12 hours. The response was always going to come. The only question was where it would land. Iran's official position was delivered clearly by Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi within hours of the first retaliatory strikes. We are not targeting our neighbors, we are targeting American assets on their soil. That was the stated justification. When U.S. forces evacuated military bases and relocated to hotels and civilian facilities, Iran followed those targets there too. In theory, that sounds like a precise, limited response. In practice, it is not. Iranian strikes rapidly expanded beyond identifiable U.S. military assets. Hotels hosting American personnel in Dubai were struck. Airports used by U.S. military logistics were targeted. Energy infrastructure was hit. Civilian zones were caught in the crossfire. The numbers tell the real story. Around 1,800 Iranian missiles and drones were intercepted across Gulf airspace in the first 5 days alone. Hundreds broke through. The UAE reported 186 missiles launched directly at its territory. 172 were destroyed by air defense systems. Over 800 Iranian drones were tracked, 755 intercepted. That still leaves dozens that were not. One missile struck near the Palm Jumeirah, buildings damaged, people injured. One of the most visited tourist destinations on the planet, hit by an Iranian ballistic missile in 2026. This is not surgical. This is not limited. This is a full regional assault being justified by a narrow political argument. Here's what makes the situation particularly difficult to process. The Gulf states did not support this war. They actively worked against it. In January 2026, just weeks before the strikes, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, Kuwait, and Oman formally communicated to Washington that they would not allow their airspace, their bases, or their territory to be used for any military action against Iran. They drew that line clearly, publicly, diplomatically. Oman went further. It had been hosting secret, indirect negotiations between Washington and Tehran for months. Its foreign minister stood before cameras and said peace was within reach, that Iran had agreed in principle never to stockpile weapons-grade enriched uranium. Hours after that statement, the bombs dropped anyway, and Iran then attacked Oman. The country that spent months trying to prevent this war became one of its first victims. Saudi Arabia and the UAE had spent 3 years rebuilding their relationship with Tehran, following a historic normalization agreement in 2023. Embassies reopened, trade expanded, diplomatic channels that had been closed for years were functioning again. None of that counted for anything. In 48 hours, a decade of diplomatic work was erased. What happened next had never happened before in the modern history of the Middle East. Qatar intercepted and shot down 2 Iranian military jets that had entered their airspace. The first time an Arab Gulf state had directly engaged Iranian military aircraft in combat. Saudi Arabia crossed its own red line after Iranian missiles struck the U.S. Embassy compound in Riyadh, hit Riyadh International Airport, and targeted Aramco oil refineries, the backbone of the Saudi economy. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman authorized direct military engagement against Iranian forces. The UAE declared Iranian attacks had crossed an absolute red line and reserved the right to respond by any means necessary. In 72 hours, the Gulf states had moved from peace mediators to active war participants. Even U.S. President Trump publicly admitted this escalation was not anticipated. He stated the Gulf countries were supposed to stay on the sidelines and now were insisting on being directly involved. The entire strategic calculation of the conflict shifted overnight. This is where the story leaves the Middle East and enters your life directly. The Strait of Hormuz, the narrow channel of water between Iran and the UAE, carries 1/5 of all global petroleum consumption. More than 1/4 of all seaborne oil trade on the planet passes through that single choke point daily. Iran has already begun partial interdiction operations in the strait. 3 commercial vessels were struck in the opening week. International shipping insurance rates have spiked to levels not seen since the 2019 tanker attacks. Oil prices are climbing. If the strait closes fully, even temporarily, global energy supply chains fracture. Fuel prices spike in every country on Earth. Inflation accelerates. Supply chains that depend on Gulf energy inputs break down. This is not a distant regional conflict. This is a direct economic threat to every nation that uses energy, which is every nation on Earth. Iran is attacking the Gulf states because it views every country hosting American military infrastructure as a legitimate extension of the American war machine. Whether that argument holds legally, morally, or strategically, the world is still processing it. What cannot be disputed is this: countries that refused to join this war, that mediated against it, that drew public lines saying they wanted no part of it, are now being bombed. A region that spent years building peace was dragged into conflict overnight, and the consequences for Gulf stability, for global energy, for the international rules that govern warfare are still unfolding in real time. Like and subscribe. Drop your thoughts in the comments. This situation is developing daily.